Alright, so I'm doing just another quick video here showing some of the Norton Waterstones. They're definitely an older stone. They've been around a long time. They don't get much love in a lot of the wider knife sharpening community outside of the straight razor users, but these guys are really good for a lot of different stainless. They work great on carbon steel, but one of the things that they're very good at, because they're a softer stone, is managing burrs on some of the budget steels, and they will handle most steels right on up to the that 4% vanadium content. They're a little slower, a little softer. You definitely need to emphasize the trailing portion of your pass, and the coarse stone that comes with the set, the 220, is not really very good. Almost everything on it needs to be done with a trailing pass like sandpaper, or you erode the stone at a shocking pace. It does still work, but for the money you're better off with just like a King 240 grit stone for that roll. So I'm going to do one on an older cold steel Recon 1. This is 440 C. Now these guys they're soft, but one of the things you can do, as with any soft stone, to help keep them from dishing, one, work all the way around the stone. Emphasize the trailing part of the pass. And flush it. Because what happens is all the loose grit that comes up on the stone and the swarf will combine to erode the stone that much quicker. So if you can keep it clean, it'll stay flat a lot longer. The other thing too, if you've got a sharpening notch or a coil or whatever, these stones are soft enough that you will round over your stone. So if you want one edge, keep it nice and sharp, be advised that that has to be accounted for. Or if you're banging the sharpening notch, the coil off of the stone, you're going to erode it. This is the 1000 grit. It's actually pretty quick for what it does. And if you're using light pressure, which I'm kind of not, slamming through this job here, they won't even really raise a noticeable burr. So that is definitely a nice feature for this stone. I also noticed that one of my chisels is not in the best of shape, so I'm going to touch that up on here too. And again, it becomes, doing a chisel, it's even more important to move around on the stone. Light pressure. Emphasize the pressure on in this case, the pull. One of the cool things about these, if you're someone that's new to Waterstones, the worst thing about the Nortons is that they're kind of overpriced for what you get. Probably the best thing about them is that the feedback on them is really good, and if you're not used to working with Waterstones, they're a great place to start. And if you do a lot of cheaper stones, cheaper steels, they're a very good solution. This is the 4000 grit stone. Compared to most 4000 grit stones, it's kind of on the rough side. So their 1K is more like an 800. This guy's more like about a 2K depending on the steel. And again, if you work the ends, work the whole stone, not only will you have to clean it less, you'll have to flatten it less. So they're relatively quick. They raise a very small burr for what you're doing. They tend not to load because they're so soft. It's a double-edged sword kind of. To get the most out of them, you have to use a trailing pass. They're really some stones are not made to really deliver standalone edges all that well, and I think that these guys are a perfect example of that. They're made to work in a series to get you up to that AK 8,000 grit stone quickly, and in that respect they work pretty well. And if you keep them well flushed, keep a film of water on them, they're a little harder than a lot of people might think. But if you let them dry out, start pounding that swarf into them, they will feel very soft very quickly. They'll dish in a single session. But they have good feel, good feedback, they're reasonably fast. From a maintenance standpoint, as long as you flatten them, they're nice to use. And again, the feedback's good and they don't ever load really. And the other thing that's nice about them, again, they create very small burrs because they are soft. So everything's a trade-off. Like on this chisel, I can barely even feel the burr. I know there's one there. So I'm just going to work all around the stone. How I use these, if I got a bunch of cheaper stainless come in, and I don't feel like having a problem with any of my harder stones, having to dinker around with pressure burrs or any of that stuff, I'll go right to the Nortons. They tend to be very equal opportunity. They might not do the best job on everything, but they do a good job on everything. So for the 440, I am just going to use this to lay in a little bit of a micro bevel. This AK stone is probably one of the coolest parts of the whole set. I got these as an upgrade to my King stones many years ago, and couldn't have been happier. The AK stone is light years ahead of the King stone. It's actually pretty fast. Great for just laying in a few extra passes over a coarser stone for a micro bevel. Again, like the rest of the set, it's soft enough to make good use of that trailing pass. And this is quite a bit harder than the rest in the set, although, being a resinite stone, it is still pretty soft. A little bit more on there, get that micro bevel across the entire edge. outside corners tend not to get it. No stiction really, even on wider bevels than this. So they don't get a lot of love, but they're actually a pretty good stone for a lot of different uses. If you were only going to get one Waterstone because you don't use them a lot, then the Nortons would be a pretty safe bet. Again, my biggest gripe with them is that they are kind of expensive. Aside from that, I enjoy them quite a bit. I'm not even going to strap this thing. So 440C vintage cold steel. This could, you know, make your comma cuts and all that stick. Real nice, and it's very, again, the thing I really like about the Nortons is that they're just so reliable on so many steels, and they consistently make a clean edge, burr-free. You know that the stones themselves are relatively no muss, no fuss. If they were a little bit cheaper, I would endorse them enthusiastically for anyone for a starter set, because all you really need is a flattening stone, a cheap lapidary flattening plate, and a little bit of patience, and you'll have a really good experience with them. So Norton, if you're listening, drop the price on these guys a little bit, and you should get a lot more business. They're still a contender in today's market, in my opinion. Alright, well anyway, I've been meaning to make a video for the pitching these Norton stones, or at least showcasing them a little bit, for a long time, and now that I am on partial lockdown, have at it.